big our universe is.
My name is Jervis Freeman. I'm an artist and I'm based in County Wicklow, where I paint full-time. I graduated from Limerick School of Art and Design back in 1996. 3-4 years now. I've been very lucky to be able to paint full-time here in my studio in County Wicklow. I think the expression and the idea of painting for me is more like a necessity. I'm quite interested in, I suppose, like a lot of people, the idea of existence. In nature itself, there's a lot of reflection of existence within humanity, and when you see like the cycle of things, seasons and all that kind of thing, and the circling of the world, everything is circular. Begin with these kind of drawings that I started out with, where really they began when I was out walking out up in the hills in Wicklow, and I'd do these kind of little sketches, and there's a lot of rocks and, you know, a lot of different terrain and stuff like that. And I think the drawings, I began to really sort of enjoy doing the drawings more than the actual painting itself. Not that I enjoyed it more, it's just that it happened so much quicker, these quick sketches, and I loved the freedom and bringing it back to my studio and going, how can I make my paintings really, how can I make them be as expressive as that? How can I make them as free and almost non-objective in a way? And so I kind of began with the drawing on the canvas and said, I'll do that, and then I add in colour, and they kind of, like, I build up, and depending on the drawing, it really does, it informs what happens with the paint. Every new painting has a whole new set of problems that I have this need to fix, to solve, to organise, which I think is probably what drives me to paint. It's a function of creativity, that it's my way of reasoning out existence and all that, and that whole mind-boggling notion of the universe and where we are in it. Colour itself is something that I began to really kind of push more and more this year with the whole lockdown situation. It does kind of help to have colour and be surrounded by it. You know, the shapes that happen, like some of them they're controlled drips even, and I sort of work the paint around that. I never really know where the painting's going until I begin with the next stage of it, or a session. When I come into the studio, I just continue on, and I tend to get lost in a world of creating, you know, making shapes, reacting to one shape off the next, and reacting from one colour into the next. I like to bring the drawing back up through as well. I like to have this sort of shaded, shimmery effect. They are quite figurative. They do look as if underwater sometimes. If I get just mind-boggled about things, there is a zoomed out effect where kind of looking into the universe from a distant, far off space. It's just incomprehensible how big our universe is. That really drives me in many ways. I like to use cosmic events that happen along the way as well as influence. You know, they do sort of get in. I like to mark them sometimes by, like, a blue moon, which happened not so long ago, and earlier this year so many, you know, different comets were soaring our skies, like Comet Swan and Neowise. It's not even about comets, they're not about stars and planets and space and all this either, but I do use the influence of that. I react, I respond. I just absolutely love nature, and I have to be in it. Recently, over the year, I have become more and more in need of just going out and stargazing, just as much as I have the need to go out and go hiking up a hill, or just off out and just wander around into the landscape and be surrounded by nature. I feel really like grounded when I look up at the sky and the stars, and like the walk from the house down to my studio down here at night time, although there's a little bit of light pollution from the lights on the road, I do get to see the plough a fair bit, because it's just right there. I do gaze up at the sky quite a bit every night when I walk from my studio to the house, or from the house down to the studio. So it's always a wonder, and it's always something that I just look up. I just look up. But in my painting, it's layers and layers of different colour that one influences the next, and you know, I mix it in with transparencies that come through, and that mix with other layers of transparencies, changing colours in the cross areas. I love using cold wax, so I make my own cold wax, and I love to use that to make to mix in with the paint to give it a nice thickness, and I love that matte effect, and it gives it a lovely sort of lush, I suppose, almost like, you know, candy feel to it, and I like that too. It just makes me happy to be able to produce and create such colour, and in its thickness and candy-like effect, I suppose. It's a play, I suppose, of everything. My paintings are a play of all of that stuff, and it's just an atmosphere that I want to be surrounded by, so I am creating an atmosphere as such, really, and that's kind of it, really.
Legacy, a true blessing. I was the pathfinder, and he was my apprentice, carrying my last name for the next generation and continuing this legacy. This piece was done with digital and acrylic paint. It's an abstract portrait of one of my greatest masterpieces, my son. My son. This is a self-portrait, and this particular piece is called Perseverance. My struggle was wrought and forged by a constant hunger for greatness. I've withstood and never wavered off my path. I am meant to be this, a creator, an inspirer, a giver of aspirations. I am meant for this. I am Joan. This piece is mixed media of photography, acrylic paint, and digital art. This piece coming up here is called They Follow. They followed her through the depths of darkness. She was the vibrance in a realm full of despair, a dealer in the currency of hope. This particular piece was done digitally and is based off a character from a science fiction graphic novel that I've written called Idolin. This fun piece is called Find Your Serenity. We've been through the gauntlets and found ourselves here. Life has found its cosmic balance, and as we take a deep breath, we expel the toxins of the universe. Meditating to take a step out of our reality to gain a clearer view of this existence. This piece was done with a mix of digital art and acrylic paint. This piece is one of my favorite pieces, and the name of it is called Tenant of Prosperity. A vision that whenever he'd see, his heart rate and anxiety would raise. An unspeakable pain for this love lost that seemed like a distant dream. Reality? What's reality in a world full of doubt? What is life without a real love? This piece is a mixed media of photography and digital art.
My name is Silva Savinino, and I am a multimedia artist from Brazil, based in Cork. I work with photography, experimental filmmaking, animation, and collage in both analog and digital format. For this show, I want to show my analog collage work. Pop culture is the big influence. Not a minimalist artist by any means, but I like the idea to express something with minimum. I use a lot of negative space, for example, in my work. One way or another influence my work. I'm very much interested in the friction between the urban and the natural world, with the contrast between the urban and the natural world. Also, it's very constant, also some kind of a fascination about the obsession people have with publicity and the celebrities and the consumerism. In the last few years, actual sexuality and gender role have also played in my practice. All the works are in this collage come from the same book, Lagnac et Conive from 1973. It is the yearbook for girls in Hungary, what the government thinks that could be interesting for girls and young women to know around the world. And then it fascinated me because I was actually come from the other spectrum of the Cold War. I was in Brazil under military dictatorship, and despite they are completely different ideologically, their methodology was pretty much the same. It's controlling of press, oppression, and totally lack of freedom, and the punishment about if you don't follow the rules they told you. And then it was interesting for me to live that few years in Hungary, to question what is masculinity and what is mean be a man today in today's society. I use vintage flowers arrangements and deconstruct male body to represent it. I play with beauty and fragility, constructing with toughness, male sensuality. Many years ago, I watched a documentary on BBC about people who lost the ability to recognize faces. And I was kind of mesmerized. I never hear such a thing, and then start to think about what exactly they see, because they are not blind in a really blind way. They are people who have the vision, but they cannot recognize faces. What that could be, what they see when they look someone they love in front of them. Probably the most strange conspiracy theory I come across. Some kind of shape-shifting extraterrestrial reptile humanoids, and their only intention is to enslave us, to control us. There is millions of blogs and books about that, with the obsession some people have with the monarchies, principally the British monarchy. And I find some copies of Hello magazine, and I realize there is always something about monarchies there. And then I put them together with my natural books and select the pictures of the reptiles, and then create a whole series about it. That's one of the projects I'm working now.
I just can't let me be. I need a piece of mind to have a calm state of being. When I'm my hippie, so I be one connect to the trees. Feel like even around me draining all my energy. Yeah, I need serenity. I need serenity. Yeah, making peace with my enemies. I won't ever let the red demons get back into me. I be feeling sane, I be feeling cosmic energy. I need serenity. Yeah, serenity, my luxury. Yeah, I need serenity. On this stick, so don't knock me down and break my feet. I'm trying to stay away from drama, keep the faith from me. Why would I ever feel more than they can be like me? My veins is golden, lately I've been doing elderly. Why would I ever take her to show she not deep in sea? She not really for me, I feel no intimacy. She see purity in my veins when I sit lately. I watch her through a window, look up in her eyes and me. Hate when she close the door, I don't like it when she leave. Girl, please don't leave. Girl, please don't leave. Yeah. Come, get some piece of me. I need serenity. I need serenity. I need serenity. I need serenity. Girl, come, get some piece of me.